Well, good afternoon. Usually it would be good morning because I like an early start and the days are short in winter, but it's good afternoon. It's after 1 o'clock now, and it's indicative, I suppose, of the fact that the days are getting longer and you can actually start off later. I'm in Sutherland again, back in my favourite part of Scotland, and today I'm headed up somewhere up in all that murk and clag. It's a hill over 800 metres called Carn Chuinneag. I'm on the Glencalvy estate, which is a few miles west of Bonnybridge, Ardgay, around that area. It's a part of Sutherland I've never really ventured into. This estate, 20,000 acres, so not very big by Highland terms, and it borders on that direction Allerdale, vast estate which is quite famous these days for its conservation efforts and also the controversy surrounding the desire of its landlord to introduce wolves to his estate, to a great big area, and then fence it off, which of course has all kinds of access implications. But this, for a moment, Glencalvy, so not the biggest estate, and it kind of starts down at that lodge that I was walking past earlier. In terms of lodges, you see a few lodges out up in the Highlands, and a lot of them are quite ugly things. That one's actually not too bad as far as expensive piles in the countryside go. But that amazing tree house, God, can you imagine having that when you're younger? An absolute dream. And of course, just starting off, there was a red squirrel as well, so it's just within 2 minutes of parking the car and walking out. It's quite a nice place. The other reason I'm starting off later, is because the forecast, I don't think it's ever a good idea paying much attention to forecasts in this part of the world, especially given what happened this time last year in Sutherland with all the failures I had, not least on Arkle, and then later in Ardnamurchan on Benvironment. Perhaps it's not such a good idea to pay too much attention to forecasts, but they were adamant that this weak weather front that's coming in is going to reduce the cloud level a bit onto the tops, and then it's going to come through and it's all going to clear, and we're going to be left with a sparkling late afternoon, early evening. We'll see. Well, it was so tempting to head out this morning. I woke up, first day this week in Sutherland, woke up this morning, the first morning, and opened the curtains, and the view to greet me. I'm staying in Altas, which is high up on the hillside, what's Strathoikel, I think. And the fog was lying in the glen, and you could see the hills of Ascent in the distance. And the blue sky came in, and you thought, ooh, maybe I should have headed out after all, but if I had, I'd probably be just heading up the summit about now, in the clag. So my hope is that by the time I get maybe halfway up the hill, approaching the top in a couple of hours, hour and a half, hopefully, it will be clearing. That's the plan. Since the last vlog, which was in Cowell, I've replaced a pole. I have back to 2 poles. And there's been another week in between now and back then, which sadly I'm afraid I didn't get any video blogs done from last week, which was based in Nethy Bridge in the Cairngorms. First week in Cowell, last week in Nethy Bridge, this week Sutherland. Amazing week. I mean, this time last year when I was going around doing blogs and that and exploring around in February, March time, it was all about the beaches. Incredible beaches on North Uist, Sutherland, big sandy expanses unlike anything I've ever seen before. This time around, it's all about the forests. It's what I use this time in between my ranger contract at West Lothian Council finishing in January and then starting again at the end of March, beginning of April. I use that time to try and get out and explore places I've not been before, get some photography done, get some blogs done. So I try to go to places that I've not been to before. Tempting as it is to go back to the same places over and over again. And Nethy Bridge have been on my list for quite some time because certainly from the central belt, from Fife, it's easier to get to the northern, well, the southern Cairngorms, Newton Moor, Newsey, and the northern corries a push to get all the way around past Granton to Nethy Bridge and into Abernethy Forest. It's a bit longer, so I've never really done day trips, so it was nice to base myself there. Very successful week. I had the first day out on the walk through the forest, and that's all I planned on doing when I went out the door. I think my exact words, leaving my details of my route, were, I'm going for a stroll around the forest. And I did just that. The only problem was when I got to the edge of the forest and it was thinning out, I could see a big snowy lump in the distance, kissed by sunshine under blue skies, and it was too tempting to pass up. So I just kept on walking for a few hours and went to the top of this hill and got astonishing views of the Cairngorms. So that was great. And of course the rest of the week, red squirrels, crested tits, and a capercaillie on the last day. Just the most incredible week, but no blogs, I'm afraid. Especially amazing because of just the habitat of Scots pine forest. It's unlike anything else you can spend your time in. I was saying at the blog I did going up Skurgui, there's a bit of forest you go through there, and I was saying what a friendly, welcoming, nice place a pine forest is to spend time. Abernethy is one of the, probably, is it the largest or one of the largest remaining tracts of native pine forest that we have. Big old trees, big old mature trees. Not just there, also forest around Granton as well. Really, really beautiful. I mean, I was saying in the East Lowman blog as well about how Sitka spruce forest can look beautiful with snow on, but really not under any other circumstances. This stuff, it's amazing, it's beautiful. Completely different type of forestry to what we experienced in going up in Cowell, going up to the crash site. That dense Sitka stuff that's all over Argyll, completely different in nature. Speaking about the temptation of returning to the same places, really had to fight my urges, and in not going back to Ascent. I haven't been for a few years actually. I think I can't remember, was it maybe 2013 the last time I actually spent a week there. So it's been 4 years, so it's quite a long time. But there's so much of Scotland I've not seen. And even Sutherland, which I've got a big soft spot for. There's a lot of Sutherland that I haven't seen. I mean, I've spent a few weeks up in Kinbrace, and I've explored up that way and towards Caithness. But that whole area between Dornoch and Brora, and then coming west, southwest to here, to Allerdale and beyond, it's a bit of a mystery to me really. So the urge was there, but I fought it. It's 12 degrees. I know it's March, but even so, it's 12 degrees, which is wholly unacceptable. I'm gonna have to remove a layer. Just anxious that as soon as I round this corner, it's gonna be blowing wind or something, and I'm gonna get cold instantly. Come on, brighten up! It's one of the benefits, I suppose, of having chosen something that was a bit smaller today, is it's just when the weather is a bit touch and go like this, just a greater chance that it may clear. It's a twin summit hill, two sort of rounded hills. That's one of them, and I think the other one is that one over there. So that might be the sort of the low slung high pass between the two. So I maybe we'll do all right. Hard to tell. Sitting down on the way up, it's not something I usually do that much of really. I usually do it on the way down or at the top. But I really am in no rush. I mean, it's 1:45. Sunset now is, I think it's about 6:15. So what's that? Quite a few hours. No, I don't know. No more than 2 hours to get to the top. So as long as I'm on my way down by, even if it was at sunset, to be fair, because if it does clear up, the moon is so bright at the moment. And apparently it's really good stalkers paths going up and down, really good. So I've got the torch. So as long as I'm on a good path, and it's an easy walk out. So I'm quite happy. Actually, looking up now, it's looking like it's got a lot more definition That's the top of the west top, I think. So, do we dare to be hopeful? Oh, back on the move again. And just look at this. It's marked on my OS map's quite old. It's just marked as like it could just be a bothy. Maybe they call it a bothy, but you know, it doesn't look like a bothy to me. That looks rather sumptuous, perched up here on a mountainside. I have to say, this does feel like a very wild place from the glen up here. And there's no one here. It's a weekend, it's a Sunday. There are 2 other cars parked all the way back down at the lodge. But they could have gone in any direction, really. I haven't seen anybody. And this is the Corbett. So it has a certain draw, I guess. But then there's not much else around here that does in that same way that the Corbetts and the Munros do. So it's very wild country, and it's sort of this land bordering Allerdale as well. If you keep going, you get into, I think it's at Kildamorry, Loch Glass, and you get to the back of Benvironment. And that's very wild country. I mean, there's a great big stonking wind farm there now, which kind of detracts from it a bit. But otherwise, it's another part of this part of the country I've not visited before, and I'd like to explore it, because it is very, very wild. Very austere landscape, isn't it, this time of year, when you're emerging from winter into spring, and it just looks like the whole place has been burned. Which of course in some instances it has been, of course, which is controversial in itself. Oh, and as well, you can see that inverted commas bothy thing now. Much as I'd love to live somewhere like that, it's a bit of a monstrous thing on the side of the hill, high up in the glen, in my opinion. Nice location, but even so, does it jar somewhat? Then again, of course, this being Sutherland, people belong in these glens. You can't really go on a walk in any wild place in Sutherland and not mention the clearances and what happened. Here it came quite late, I understand. I was doing a bit of digging before I came out. And the whole thing with clearing people off the land, tenant farmers, crofters, people who were supposed to have been looked after by their landlords, absentee landlords in a large number of cases. In Sutherland, it began, I think, in the early 19th century. The Countess and later the Duke of Sutherland wanted to clear people off the land because cattle, sheep, it was more profitable. And it wasn't done in any kind, caring fashion. It was brutal. People were moved with little or no warning. Houses were torched. Crops were left in the fields. People were sort of sent packing down to the coast. Up north in Strathalladale, up near Kimbrace, up that way. People, I think a lot of the population went down to Helmsdale and tried to sort of get work on the coast. People who couldn't, people emigrated. And Glen Calvey, which is this glen that we've been walking up, beyond that building, I imagine, sort of the grassy areas that are further down, it came quite late to here. I think they would have spent, people who lived here, it was 18 families, some 90 people in total. And they would have seen what was going on across Sutherland, and there's a suggestion that, you know, I mean, of course they'd know that it was going to happen to them eventually. There was an effort in 1842, but it finally happened in 1845. Was it May? And by that point, there was a national media, and there was a Times correspondent who came along and reported on it. Reportage in exactly the same way that we have now. And you can read his account of what happened, and it's horrendous. And these people left with, you know, left it with dignity and without protest by the sounds of it. 18 families, 90 something people, lots of children. They had nowhere to go. There was no cottages, you know, for them anywhere else in the locality. So they went down to a churchyard, which is a few miles down there towards Ardgay. and had to spend the night there. And they've etched on the window, Glen Cal people was in the churchyard here, May 1845, and it's still there. Living history in a way. It's still there. So it's a church built by Thomas Telford. It's still there, etched on the window. Incredible thing to actually stand there and be connected to history. Is it because when you see these burnt out croft houses, these sheilings, these dilapidated places, it feels very old because they're in ruins. But to actually go to a church building which looks, looks new, not new like modern glass and everything, but it doesn't look ancient. It makes you realise actually it wasn't that long ago. 170 years ago? It's not long, really. His correspondent, he sums it up, just saying it was a very cruel and unfeeling act. I mean, they were paid a pittance for their stock, and their furniture was given to their neighbours, who I think some of them hadn't been moved on for whatever reason, and other people that lived around here, their furniture was dispersed. I think they got to keep their bedding. And then that's it. You're just told, go. Where would you go? It's only understandable that people go down to the church, finds safety in a sacred place, but that wasn't going to protect them in the long run. And apparently there's very little or no record about what did happen to them. A lot of them would have probably gone south. People were going to the cities at that point, down to Edinburgh, Glasgow, Dundee. People working, being swallowed up by industry, no doubt. And of course a lot of people emigrated. Were paid to emigrate. A lot of people, so I think some people given money which they were expected to use to emigrate, so just get rid of them. It's just awful. And that's why now Sutherland looks as it does, munched to death by sheep, deer, and there's nobody living up here anymore. And of course that's the dichotomy really, isn't it? Because it's a wild, wild place now, and it's valuable in another way. It did have numbers of people, and if those people were here now, you'd be fighting for their rights to stay here. But now it's this wild place, and it's valuable in it for other reasons, and that's what people are fighting for now against development and peat, plantations in peat, and as a carbon store and all that sort of stuff. So it's funny, isn't it, how things move on in a relatively short period of time. The predominant colour, of course, at the moment is grey. Grey. No sign of blue if it is going to happen. It may be a while yet before it does. Now what I envisage happening is rounding this corner and it being cloudy still, but getting a glimpse of a line of blue sky in the distance. No. What an amazing place though. It's not turning out quite as I'd planned. Murky as anything over there, got a bit wet, but I don't know, what do you think? Signs of brightness? There's a guy past me, a runner, running up his hill, come up from Tain, just down the road. Had a quick chat, just saying about how he was dismayed at the winter as well, just he's into his ice climbing, and just said how what a disappointment it had been. So we just had to agree really and say that I think most people who like the winter have been suffering this year. And then off he went, scampering up the hill, and you get that view of someone up ahead of you sort of moving away, snaking their way up switchbacks, and sometimes on a big hillside where you're just slogging up, so seeing somebody up there is sometimes the last thing you want, because it gives it a sense of scale that isn't there otherwise. It's nice to sort of, you can willfully deceive yourself that actually it's not that far, but then when you see somebody snaking up the hill, sometimes it's a long way. I'm deliberately going very slowly. That's one of the slowest ascents I've had of any hill, just on the off chance that it does clear. But looking over there, I have cause to be optimistic. Makes me laugh. I don't know why. I don't know how many times I've said things like that in these blogs. Sort of, oh, it's clearing up. Do you think it's clearing up? It never does. But no, I think it is clearing up. We'll see. I think it's a left turn, a sharp switch back the way. Well, it's 3:30. So realistically, I've got another couple of hours really before I consider heading back down. Quite happy with hanging around at the top. The summit does, by all accounts, it's a choke point with a wind shelter, so it'll be out the wind. As is usually the case, you have to, if you're here for a week, you take what you get, of course, but you always got one eye on what the forecast is for the rest of the week. And said before, it's been clear in past weeks when I've been away doing blogs that you can look at the forecast on the Friday before you go away and it looks dreadful, but then you always get windows. Such a difficult landscape, difficult topography to forecast accurately for. But it certainly is going to get windier after today. So it may well be that the high tops are out of bounds this week, which is what I come to expect, quite frankly, from Sutherland. If I get one hill walk done in a week, I consider myself to be doing well this time of year, in this part of the world anyway. So here we are, living the dream. Had a ptarmigan there, somewhere over here. Oh yeah, there it is. There we go. What a beauty. Sensibly taking refuge on the piece of, well, the colour surface that matches its plumage. Not much of it around at this stage in mid-March. Amazing birds. Well, it's quite incredible. It's almost dead calm. Look! Still not guaranteed. You could always get clag hanging around lower down. Just to have the sun come out would be something though. Made it! Not a difficult hill, I mean a really nice path all the way up. Really nice stalker's path. Very straightforward. But it feels like an achievement just in terms of mentally, I suppose, a mental challenge. When you're walking into a hill and it's got that clag on it like that, sometimes you can get a bit downhearted, especially if the forecast isn't great. But having confidence in the forecast that it's actually going to happen, and for actually to pan out, for a plan to come good, it's a good result and it makes you feel quite good. I've used the word good too many times now. Wow. I think you can see though how just what a scale Sutherland is on. I mean, look, this is looking south, so this is going beyond Sutherland really, but lots of big open space. And I personally think it's on a much bigger, much grander scale than anything else in the country, and certainly more so than the Cairngorms. It's just a very lonely, wild place. And because a lot of it is devoid of sort of Munros or even Corbetts, there's some really quiet, little frequented glens and hills that no one goes to. I mean, you can go walking through some of these glens and you won't see anyone. We are now looking over that way. Over that way we are now looking to, that's Loch Morrie over there. Loch Glasses over those hills towards the south, but that massif over there, that's Benvironment. That's Withus Forest. Very wild place, sort of the back of Benvironment that, again, no one really goes to, but that rises up to Benvironment over there. And out that way is looking all the way to Ascent. Yeah. Ascent over there. I can see Sutherland over there, way in the distance. So it's starting to clear, although I don't know. I'm having second thoughts now. It was looking a lot clearer a moment ago. There's definitely lots of blue sky up there, but there's this low cloud coming through. This might just be the afterthought, I suppose, at the front. You know, somehow when you get a snow shower, a heavy snow shower on a hill, and it's light and like graupool to start off with, and then it finishes with a really intense flurry of big flakes. It often finishes more angry than it starts. Hoping that this is going to be like this. It's been a bit half-hearted, and now it's just going to be really claggy. So there's this claggy stuff in the distance. Might be some spots of rain yet to come, but I'm hoping that this is just the end flourish and then it'll be gone. Cheers! So looking over my shoulder, there's definitely a flourish of something coming. Well, I've been up here about 15-20 minutes now, and there's not real signs of blue sky coming, but I mean, it's a bit of a light show happening over there. So the sun's trying to break through. That's out to the, where's that? That's the southwest, I think. Looking out towards Benvironment and the Fannex out that way. But certainly out towards the Cromarty Firth and that, it's looking lovely. Just stuck in this murk here on this hill as usual. Come on, let's have some brightness. Do you know what? About half an hour afterwards, about half an hour on, and I think it's going to happen, albeit briefly. Even if I just get sun for a couple of minutes, I consider that a win. This is one of those moments that there's so few to have a day sort of transform into this. I mean, look at this. It's just all of a sudden it is just transforming. Oh, it's wonderful. And there we go, we are in sunshine. Did you ever doubt me? Really moody over there though. And look, to top it all off, got the shadow of the hill and a rainbow departing as well. Perfect snapshot end to a wonderful walk. Well, it looks like that's the end of the sunshine. There's another bank of cloud coming in, and this one looks like it might last a bit longer. We've had a good clear spell of blue sky, and that's good enough for me. Just at the right time, perfect timing. It's not quite the clearance I had in mind, but I'll take it.